It begins in silence. No story, no miracle, no voice crying out in the wilderness. Only a sentence, quiet, puzzling, and unlike anything the Gospels have ever said. Whoever finds the meaning of these words shall not taste death. This is how the Gospel of Thomas begins. No call to believe, no commandments, no dogma, but a key, a sign pointing beyond the words, towards something that is not spoken, but seen, not explained, but recognized. What does this sentence mean? And what is it we must realize to not taste death? In this first video of the new series on the Gospel of Thomas, we follow this question to its source. Not academically, not historically, but inwardly. Because if this sentence is true, then it's not about something we are meant to understand, but something that could transform us. What does it mean to not taste death? To never die? To live forever? Whoever asks it that way has already lost, because the death Jesus speaks of is not the end of the body, not the final breath, not the moment the heart stops beating. The real death begins much earlier. It begins when a person forgets who they are, when they live but are dead inside, when they function but no longer feel, when they breathe but no longer recognize themselves. And yet, we fear it. Death. Some every day. Others only at night, when everything goes quiet. Then it comes, like a whisper beneath the blanket. A cold breath on the neck of the soul. The question no one dares to ask. What if one day I no longer exist? And beneath that, a deeper fear. Still, what if I have lived without ever truly being? This fear is where our greed grows, our pride, our endless striving. We buy, we fight, we run, to forget that everything will pass. But in the mystical traditions, both of the Islamic world and Christian thought, this fear is not an end, but a hidden doorway, a quiet call to return to the truth within. As early mystics like Mevlana Rumi in the Islamic tradition and Meister Eckhart in Christian mysticism have shown, the soul must pass through a kind of inner death before it can truly awaken. As Rumi gently reminds us, die before you die, so that you may truly live. And Meister Eckhart echoes, man must become empty, so that God may act within him. That is the death Jesus speaks of, the death of the false self, a letting go, an awakening, because whoever dies that death will live, not after dying, but now. Whoever finds the meaning of these words, what a strange way to phrase it. These words are not meant to be understood, not even to be believed. They are meant to be found, as if the words were a veil, a sign pointing to something unseen, something that only reveals itself when you are ready to see, not with the eyes, not with the intellect, but with the innermost part of your being. The corpus hermeticum, a collection of early Gnostic wisdom texts, says, "What is truly real is invisible, for it is only seen by the Spirit. The eye sees only forms, the ear hears only sounds, but the truth is silent. It hides behind language, behind thought, behind the self." That's why the Gospel of Thomas is not a book of teachings. It is a mirror, a riddle that reveals itself only to the one who is willing to forget themselves. The words are like footprints in the sand, but the meaning lies deeper, like water beneath the earth. You cannot grasp it. You cannot analyze it. You can only find it by becoming empty and still. And when you do find it, you will not be the same, because what you recognize is not just a thought, but a light that you have always been. What is it that we have forgotten? Not a text, not a teaching, but ourselves. We live, but we no longer know who we are. We run through life, filling roles, meeting expectations. Yet deep inside, there is a fracture, a void that cannot be filled. This, in truth, is death. Not the death of the body, but the separation from our source, the severing from the light that lies hidden within us. In the Zohar, a central work of Jewish mysticism, it says, "Woe to the one who departs from their root, for they walk as a shadow without origin." A shadow without origin. That is how many people live today. Functioning, but hollow inside. Successful, but without direction. Awake, but not truly alive. Gnosis teaches that each human being carries sparks of light within, but these sparks are buried under layers of forgetting, fear, and self-centered illusion. Meister Eckhart said, "God is closer to the soul than the soul is to itself. But as long as we forget this, we live in death, even while breathing." The saying of Jesus in the Gospel of Thomas is not a riddle for philosophers. It is an invitation. Remember, not with the mind, but with your soul. Because whoever comes to know themselves, not the ego, but the essence, returns to that which was never born and can never die. The way back, it doesn't begin in books, not in rituals, not in arguments about doctrine. It begins within, where the light dwells that you've forgotten, where the words of Jesus do not seek explanation, but seek to awaken. The ancient teachers knew, you do not need to go out into the world to find the light. You must go inward, beneath the roles, beneath the thoughts, beneath fear, beneath pride. The return is not a heroic journey. It is, as Evagrius Ponticus wrote, he who recognizes his thoughts recognizes his origin. Sit in stillness. Watch your thoughts. Recognize what drives you and what deceives you. Not everything that moves you leads you to yourself. Some things only distract you from pain, from stillness, from silence. Recognize the things you identify with and how they confine you. You may think you are strong or always too weak. You may think you are rational, diligent, kind, but perhaps you are simply compliant. Perhaps you hold an image of yourself that is too small for what you truly are. See how you lose yourself in trying to become someone others will love, admire, or need. And then let go. Not out of resignation, but out of truth. Because you feel that is not you, and you no longer need to be it. Not from weakness, but from clarity. As Al-Ghazali said, truth is what shines in the soul, not what sounds from the tongue. Truth does not want to be proven. It only asks that you be quiet enough to feel it again. For whoever finds the meaning of these words does not find just a truth, but the way home. What does it mean then, to find the meaning? It means to have the courage to become still, to see through the illusion, to open the heart to something greater than words. The Gospel of Thomas is not a law. It is a whisper, a silent calling that only those will hear who turn away from the noise of the world. As Rumi reminds us, do not go elsewhere. Return. The treasure you seek is in the cave of your soul. And the treasure is recognition, not as knowledge, but as awakening, not as possession, but as return. And so, the first saying is not a message about death, but a remembrance of life, the life that has been waiting in you since the beginning. Jesus said, "Whoever finds the meaning of these words shall not taste death." But what does that mean? It does not mean to conquer death, but to see through it. To realize that true death is not the end of the body, but the forgetting of your origin. It means not to analyze the words, but to let them live inside you. It means to become still, to turn away from the noise, from the expectations, from the image you carry of yourself, to hear again what has never stopped calling, because within you lives something that was never born and will never die. And whoever recognizes that has already overcome death, long before their body falls silent.